Hey, Coach Harlan here. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal week. I'm having a great week, and I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today. Please help me welcome Bryan Baer. When you're searching for a personal injury lawyer, you want to hire a lawyer that has the capacity to take on your case, the know-how and experience with your type of case, and the resources to go the distance for your case. Size matters, but bigger isn't always better. A quality boutique trial firm like the Baer Law Firm can devote far more time and attention to resources with your case, which is what you really want from your lawyer. Attorney Bryan Baer has 20 years of legal experience representing clients in serious and catastrophic injury and medical malpractice cases. He's been first chair in more than a dozen 12-person jury trials on both the plaintiff and defense side. Recognized as a leader in his legal community, he is frequently asked to speak at legal seminars on trial topics ranging from best practices in voir dire to maximizing damages at trial, as well as insurance issues such as navigating the insurance landscape and injuring demands and negotiations. Bryan lives in Atlanta with his wife and 2 kids. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Harlan, and you did a great job of looking and digesting what was on the about page of my website. So thank you for that.
No worries. And then we're going to be asking a lot of questions so you can go into detail on a lot of that stuff. Sure. First question, though, before we get into everything, I've had lawyers, I've had doctors, I've had bookkeepers, accountants on the program. And a lot of them say, yeah, growing up as a kid, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Did you know you wanted to be a lawyer?
No, but both my parents are lawyers.
Okay.
So it was something that was sort of in the DNA and just sort of innate and led me to go that direction.
Interesting. Yeah, because I had a guy talking about sales. His parents, his grandfather, everybody was in sales, and he worked as hard as he could to not go into sales. And yet he found himself in sales now. So it happens. It happens to all of us. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about how you got your start, who you work with, your law firm, and some of the things you've been through. But before we get started, I've got 10 questions that I ask every one of my guests. Listeners don't know, these are the questions from the TV show Inside the Actor's Studio, where host James Lipton asks these questions of his Hollywood guests from TV, film, and stage. And I figure if they're good enough for the Hollywood elite, they're certainly good enough for my guests. So, Bryan, if you're ready, question number 1. What is your favorite word?
Oh, favorite word. What comes top of mind is resilient, although that's really overused these days. But let's go with resilient.
Resilient, perfect. What is your least favorite word?
My wife's least favorite word is hate. My least favorite word is can't.
Can't. I think those are both bad. So yeah, that's good. Perfect. Question 3, what turns you on?
Flexibility and openness.
Okay. What turns you off?
No turns me off.
What sound or noise do you love?
I should have watched Inside the Director's Studio. What sound or noise do I love? This is going to be bizarre. The humming of an MRI machine.
Really?
It is so soothing. But probably because you can't take your cell phones in an MRI machine. Yeah. And so you're just promised not to be disturbed.
There you go. That is good. That sounds good. All right. Question number 6 then. What sound or noise do you hate?
Sound of background TV.
Just noise for the sake of noise. Absolutely.
Right. Because my attention span isn't good enough where I can focus. I get distracted by the background TV, and then I get upset with whatever's going on with the background TV. Anyway, it totally takes me off my game.
Yep. I hear you. All right. Question 7. What is your favorite curse word?
Rhymes with can it.
Okay. All right. Question 8. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A Hollywood screenwriter.
Okay. Very good. What profession would you not like to do?
Psychologist.
All right. And finally, question 10. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I know you tried.
Good job. All right. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about how you got your start, how you selected personal injury law out of all the myriad, right, practices you could go into, and some of the people we work with. And at some point, we're going to transition into courage and leadership. All right. So listeners, we'll talk about all of that and more right after this. So stick with us. All right. And I'm back with my guest, Bryan Baer. Bryan, thanks again for being on the podcast. Really appreciate you being here. So let's talk about lawyer. You just said that it was just kind of in your DNA, something that you just kind of grew into. You went to law school where?
University of Georgia.
Very cool. Good job.
Yes.
And out of all the practice areas, there are probably thousands of them that you could have gone into. And I know you're working in personal injury right now, but you've had other experience, right? You work in product liability law, intellectual property, malpractice. How did you settle on personal injury?
That was about being open and a little bit reactive to my career. When I came out of law school, I mean, if you told me that I was going to be a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
I said, absolutely not. Before law school, I worked as a consultant for Anderson Consulting, now Accenture. Went to law school in 99. The economy was cooking, right? The dot-coms were booming. And I thought I would use my technology and consulting experience from Anderson to then go and get some sort of transactional law job in the hot tech sector, and move out to Silicon Valley, then go in-house somewhere. And at some point around 35, I'd cash in my stock options and be doing whatever I wanted to be doing on out in Northern California with everybody else. Or anyway, well, then 2000 happened, and so my intellectual property job with the big law firm sort of went bye-bye, and I got a job as I was lucky to get a job doing the more defense work. They call it insurance defense litigation. And the reason they call that is because the insurance company is the one that actually hires the lawyer. You're defending either an individual or a company that's that somebody else has said did something negligently that injured somebody or caused some other harm. But so I did insurance defense litigation for several years at a very good law firm, and I really didn't appreciate how good a law firm it was at the time. I was still, unfortunately, a little bit of a 20-something. He thought I was better than I was, and a little resentful that I wasn't, pursuing my intellectual property dreams or whatnot. And then I left that firm to go to a bigger, more national law firm that also did defense work, but on a national scale, and had a lot of different other practice areas. And I was hoping that I'd be able to parlay and eventually kind of go into the IP world.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that other firm, but did not like what I was doing, and there wasn't an opportunity to kind of move. That was, and neither did they promise me any such opportunity. I was just had my own head, and then left and did business litigation for a smaller firm that represented a lot of privately held companies and a lot of real estate developers. And there I did get an opportunity to do some intellectual property work, and I did a lot of different types of litigation as well. Was fortunate enough to get good trial experience, which is sort of rare in the business litigation world, but it wasn't necessarily purposeful. It was
Right.
just happened. The cases that I got were ones that didn't resolve, and we went to trial. But it was great. It was a great experience. And so I spent 7 years at that firm, and then that firm was about to implode or explode, however you want to look at it. It was disbanding.
Yeah.
And so I saw that handwriting on the wall and needed to figure out what I was going to do. I was talking to several different folks. I ended up speaking with a friend of mine who I met at the first insurance defense firm that I worked at. And he had started a plaintiff's personal injury firm that had been going for 4 years. And he needed some help to get it going, or not to get it going. He needed some help to grow it.
Yeah.
He had got it going, and it's doing well, but he needs some help to manage the growth. And so we became partners in 2011. And we were partners and grew that firm from the two of us and a paralegal to 5 lawyers total, and
Nice.
a staff of I think 8 or 9 at its highest. So, and we had offices, various parts of Metro Atlanta, 4 offices in all. And then I wanted to do something on my own, and that was a little smaller, and devote more attention to devote more attention to medical malpractice cases. They're tough cases. They require a lot of money. We were doing great at run-of-the-mill car wrecks, and financially that made sense, and that's where he wanted to go, which I completely understand. And I just wanted to go in a different direction. So I left and started this firm in February 2020, right before the world as we
Good
know
timing.
Yeah, came to a close.
Exactly.
So that's how I got here. But it's funny how God, or your natural or your higher power, whatever you want to call it, leads you to where you should be. I mean, my skill set is perfect. It's perfect for this, and I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think if you're open, that any situation you're in, there's something to learn from. Even if you're only there for a short period of time, there's something that you take away. I don't think anything is random. I don't think anything is coincidence, right? You meet people for a reason. You are in situations for a reason to learn from them. So it sets you all up for it. Now, one thing I noticed on your website, your law firm's tagline: courage, compassion, results. Talk to me about that and the role that compassion plays in law.
Sure. Well, everyone, or most everyone who comes to a lawyer, particularly in a litigation setting, meaning they have a dispute, regardless of the phase it, they got a dispute with some person, some company, and it's a traumatic time for that individual, and you have to approach that with compassion for what that person's going through and dealing with. And I mean, that's true. It's definitely true in a personal injury context, but it's also true in a business dispute. I mean, owners of businesses that are in a major dispute with somebody that they knew and trust, that they think it did them wrong and didn't live up to the promises. That's a trying time. It can be just as traumatic as any is any marital issues and
Absolutely.
whatnot that
On your
arise.
business is part of your family,
Right.
so
Yeah.
you need to protect it.
Right. So absolutely. So it just whatever, if they're coming to you, typically they're in maybe not a trying time, but there's certainly an emotionally charged time. And you've got to approach that with compassion and doing and empathy and doing your best from trying to see it how that person sees it.
Yeah.
And it's huge. You can't understand, where they're coming from and get to the emotional core of the dispute, the emotional core of the case, which is what ultimately you're going to need in order to persuade a jury if you don't have that compassion and understanding.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of people don't think about it, but every decision we make is an emotional decision. Whether it's in business, whether it's in life, whatever it is, it's all based on emotion. And same thing with your jury trials, right? You have to touch them emotionally somehow, or engage them emotionally to get to think your way.
That's absolutely right. And you've got to, of course, present the facts and give them the facts so that they can base the decisions. But we humans base our decisions on emotionally. We just do, and it's necessary because you just get so many facts, right? And I don't feel like as the information age comes and like these data mining, you just are more overloaded with facts, and so we can't. It's tough to process them all. So you got to package those facts in a way that tell a story and tell it in a story in an emotionally compelling manner.
Exactly.
So
would you say that compassion is compulsory in law? Because when I'm working with my clients, right, as a business coach, I'm working with my clients. I'm talking to them about putting together the foundational elements of their business. And part of that is their core values. Right. We as individuals make our decisions based on our core values. In business, you have a set of core values that you make all your business decisions based on, right? And if those aren't shared with your employees, then who knows what they're using to make their decisions.
Right.
But when I'm talking to them and I say, what are your core values? They always start off with honesty and integrity. To me, those are table stakes. If you don't have honesty and integrity, you shouldn't be in business to begin with. I kind of feel that way about law. If you don't have that compassion, if you're just out there for the money, you're not going to last. You have to have that compassion for the entity that you're helping, person or business.
I think that's fair. Certainly in a litigation setting. I mean, I guess that you can be a transactional lawyer that helps do deals or that analyzes very specific areas of the law, and not necessarily, we're human, right? I mean, you gotta have, I think they go back and you have to have compassion to be human. So a certain level of compassion is necessary just to be human, but you could approach that type of practice from a less compassionate standpoint.
It seems to me that would lead to burnout a lot faster.
Sure. Yeah. And maybe that's why a lot of lawyers get burned out. It's fair. Or in whatever profession it is, you get burned out if
Absolutely.
you don't have compassion for those that you're helping and have a bigger purpose for what you're doing.
Because I read on your law firm website, you talk about there's some cases you don't take. You a boutique firm, you're working with specific cases, 50 or so at a time. You want to make sure that this is somebody that I know I can help. And you really immerse yourself right in that. There are other law firms that will take anybody that walks in. I'm thinking of what was
the advertising? There's advertising lawyers. If it is a clear liability wreck or a wreck that they think they win, they don't care what the person is. They don't care anything. They will take that case and sum it up. That's
absolutely
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Philadelphia story. Was it with Tom Hanks? Right. And the lawyer sitting there and says, so you walked around the barrier and fell into the hole, broke your leg, and now you want to sue them? Yes, we've got a case. Yes, I can help you. It's like, I don't know. But you're right. There are a lot of firms and there are a lot of businesses that are out there we're selling this, we don't really believe in it, but we're making money, so we're just going to keep doing that. And I don't think I could run my business that way. You know, I want to believe in what I'm doing. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. And part of that is understanding what that person or entity is going through. How can I help them with that?
No, absolutely. And it's what makes it rewarding when you do help that person, through the process and help them get a recovery and help them get their life back on their feet and in order. It's just incredibly rewarding, and you make a lifelong friends, which is,
I bet.
Really
now
fun.
On your website, you have a couple of success stories. Is there one that sticks out to you? You want to share something?
Sure. And I'm not sure because I haven't looked at my website in a while, which ones are out there, but one of my favorite success stories is a woman who hired me after going through 2 advertising lawyers, and she had a massive injury to her foot. She had recently moved to Atlanta and was a driver either for Uber or Lyft at the time, the way she made most of her money. So obviously she couldn't drive anymore, and she was on the verge of getting evicted from this rat hole of an extended stay studio bedroom apartment that I met her in, and had this makeshift cast on. And she was real confrontational because she was just scared. She was really scared. So she was not an easy person to deal with, particularly initially. And she had been through these 2 other lawyers, one of which had sent her to a chiropractor. I'm not sure what a chiropractor was going to do with her foot, and another to a podiatrist who had a little more information, but the nature of her foot injury was so complex that it was really outside the scope of what podiatrists are trained. She needed to see one of the best orthopedics to help her. And so anyway, we navigated through the process and got her to an amazing orthopedic, Dr. Spiegel at Perimeter. We'll plug out to Dr. Spiegel at Perimeter Orthopedics. She had three surgeries on her foot, and we were able to find a good bit of coverage through, I believe it was through Uber, since she was active. And there's all kinds of we could talk for an hour just on Uber insurance coverage through Uber, but anyway, we were able to get the maximum amount of coverage through Uber available for her. Got her a great recovery, and she did what she should do with that, right? She put most of it in investments, put some of it into buying a modest house, and now has a steady job. Her foot is healed. And so anyway, I speak to her typically once a quarter at least, check in. I've represented her son and her daughter in more minor automobile wrecks, and so she always has some story or something that she's calling me to check in on. So that's one of my favorite success
cool
stories. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. When you can see that you've actually helped improve somebody's life. Yeah. I can see that's absolutely rewarding. So the podcast is about courage. And for a lot of people, working for someone is very comfortable, right? They make all the decisions. Their neck's on the line, right? They have to make all the big. Stepping out on your own can be scary for some people. Where did you find the courage to say, I'm going to open up my own firm? Because there are a lot of lawyers that are comfortable working at other big firms or even small firms. They're comfortable having the partners sharing all the responsibility and stuff. To step out on your own can be scary.
It is really scary. And really, I don't know that I would have done it, but it got to a point where I just didn't feel like I had another choice but to step on my own, because I was losing my motivation to go in and continue to be where I was. And so I sat down with my wife. Unfortunately, my wife has maybe she's a bigger optimist than I, and believed in me more than I believed in myself. And said, let's do it. And so we did. And one of the good, or the advantages I had, of course, was I had cases that I knew were good cases that were going to come with me. So I knew I had a decent bit of runway, and I had been in a plaintiff's lawyer at that time 7 years, and by that point I was getting a lot of calls just to me from former clients that their relatives had issues or their friends had issues. And so I thought that it wouldn't be, again, that extended the runway. I mean, don't know that my firm's sustainable, especially with how I limit my cases and just relying on the friends and family referral. But I thought that I felt like I had enough of that to where, again, I could extend that runway till I built up my own brand, so to speak. And then you run out, you test your faith, and again, and I'm by no means the most religious person in the room, but you trust God that it's going to work out. Like, it's just going to work out, even if the Baer Law Firm isn't a huge success.
Sure, this is
going to work out, and it's going to lead to a path that's going to be better, and you trust that that's the case.
Sure. And working with my clients, we talk about the same thing. What's the worst that can happen? If this fails, what do you do?
Right.
Well, I go back to my previous job. Okay. Can you live with that? Can you live with that? Right. It may not be exactly, but will you survive? Will your family survive? And if the answer is yeah, even if this fails, I'll have some place to fall. Right. Why not? Why not do it?
Right.
But you said your parents are both lawyers. Do they work for big firms, or do they have their own law firm?
So good. Very good question. My dad was a sole practitioner down in South Georgia in Brunswick.
Okay.
My mom, as a non-lawyer, worked for him and managed his office, and essentially was a non-licensed lawyer for his office for all growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My parents divorced when I graduated high school. My mom then went to law school. After law school, she worked for the largest firm in Atlanta for a number of years, and then did work for some other firms, and ended up as a staff attorney for a judge. So I had two very different experiences, but growing up, the firm that my dad ran was a lot more like the firm that I have.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting that my wife now works with the firm. Now she isn't as ingrained. She is solely as an operational mode. She doesn't do anything legal related, which helps and keeps us in our own lane. So to speak. But that's also interesting that where you gravitate to what you know, and
Exactly.
it's very interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. So some of the different types of courage we talk about, intellectual courage, right? The courage to set aside your long held beliefs, your current knowledge to make room for new knowledge. It seems like with everything that you've done, all the different firms that you worked with, the different types of law you practice, all of that had to have been a mind shift, right? To learn these different types of law. And now it's all kind of coming together in your firm, right? Has that always been, I mean, are you a lifelong learner, would you say?
I'm definitely a lifelong learner. One of the reasons why'd you go to law school? And there are a lot of reasons, and I think the fact that my lawyer, my parents being lawyers, had a lot of subconscious gravitational pull toward
Sure.
that. But I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. And I remember talking to my first boss in Anderson Consulting, and he was like, well, he goes, regardless of what you want to be, I encourage you to just look at the programs of the different, because I was a real economics wonk. I loved that degree, and I was thinking of pursuing a doctorate in economics. And he's just like, just look at the programs and degrees and what most appeals to you intellectually. And so that I chose law because at the end of the day, that appealed to me more intellectually. Not exactly the answer to your question, but I do love to learn new things. I mean, I love the obscure documentary that comes on
Sure.
that comes on TV, I try to make time. I mean, I make time every Saturday to read the weekend edition of the Wall Street Journal, cover to cover. I try to make time during the week to read as well. But yeah, it's.
But you have a lot of other things going on too. You volunteer, right?
Yes.
Teaching. You've got your kids. I mean, that's a lot to take care of.
Kids are a lot. They're so much fun. I never appreciated how much joy I would get of being a dad than I do. And yeah, it's awesome.
Very cool. And so about how many people do you have working at the law firm now?
We've got 4 of us, including myself.
Nice. So thinking back of the 4 that you've got working for you, the people who worked at the previous law firm, and then along the way, the people who work with you, paralegals and everybody. If I was to bump into any of those folks and ask them about you and what type of leader you are, what do you think they'd tell me? What kind of leader are you?
Ooh. I mean, I think the word you would probably get describe me would be nice and animated.
Okay.
I generally am, I think, a nice guy, but I can get worked up really, really easily. My current paralegal calls it a high-speed come apart when I just get too worked up. So I think that those would be the kind of the description you get. What kind of leader I am. I think the word you get was a lot of would be in integrity, and a strong commitment to do practice in the right way and take care of folks, committed and in integrity.
Nice. Are you a micromanager or do you rely on your team?
Ooh, good. Oh, that's good. I'm trying to be, and I've had a lot of coaching to be less and less of a micromanager. And that actually has been, subject of, or, both myself and my paralegal kind of had to adjust, because there were times when I get a little frustrated that she wasn't automatically, doing after doing step A, B, C, and D. And she's like, well, you got to realize, Bryan, like you would micromanage B, C, and D for many years. And I'm just kind of not used to that. But the demands of having your own firm are too great to be a micro.
Yeah. Well, and you're hiring people that have tremendous skills. You wouldn't hire them if they didn't have the skills.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And I'm also lucky to have, folks that have tremendous skills. I mean, I'm a litigation paralegal. She's been a senior litigation paralegal for 30 years now.
Wow.
And so she's incredibly qualified and knows the ins and outs of personal injury litigation. She also was in-house for a large insurance company, a large automobile insurance company for a while. And so particularly if we have cases that involve that insurance company, she's so awesome. She always has like some connection and some, back corner somewhere that kind of helps kind of push it. But and then my wife, who runs operations, she was an operations professional at really large banks and then a large technology company before helping me. So she's a master at herding cats, and I mean, just great at dealing with the vendors and the accounting and all that stuff. So super lucky to have her on board, and we've developed what I think is a good hiring process that we were able to find our new hire in this market when it's not easy to find folks. But
everybody is struggling to find good qualified people in this market.
Yeah, it's hard, but we attracted some good applicants, and we're able to land somebody really good.
Good. Yeah. Working with my clients, we'll talk about culture a lot. You can't attract the right people if the culture isn't the right fit, right? If you have a good, strong culture, your employees will be bringing people in saying, hey, we should hire this person. They'll be telling all their friends, and people just kind of gravitate towards you. What would you, if you could talk a little about the culture of your company, what do you think? How would you describe it?
Our culture is centered around, the mantra that we talked about at the beginning: courage, compassion, and results. And we do that intra-firm as well for our clients. We about foster that I want the staff to be as courageous as me, to tell me if I'm not seeing something, if I'm looking at a case the wrong way, or they have a different opinion of what's the right process to take. I think we foster a very good open dialogue that way, compassion toward one another and toward our clients, and we know that this is, all businesses are results oriented business, and we're here to achieve outstanding results for our clients, and keep that at the top of mind with everything that we do. So I've just kind of incorporated that mantra into our culture, but initially it wasn't really purposeful, and I didn't understand that you needed to do that, but purposefully. But in the beginning of 2021, we created a mission statement and a vision of our firm and where we wanted to go, and then communicated it to again, we don't have a ton of folks, but communicated it, to our team and had them as part of that collaborative process too. I mean, this wasn't just me or my wife and I. I mean, it was a collaborative process to get there, and that we spent a decent amount of time doing that, and it was
good,
very, very worthwhile.
Absolutely. Yeah. It kind of gets everybody on the same page.
Right.
Perfect.
And it's good. And so, now that we brought on our new person during this incredibly busy time. And so we're meeting later this month. We're going to do an offsite, kind of our second quarter meeting a little bit later, a few weeks later than we should, but yeah, we're going to do an offsite.
Excellent.
Half a day and making sure that, he fully understands our vision and culture.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So then what's next for you? What do you think? You looking to open another office somewhere in the Atlanta area or maybe another state?
No, I think I'm okay with one office. We are looking to expand our office. So I think what is initially next is we're going to take some, I currently share space with two other law firms. We as a group are going to take adjoining space so that we all have more room to grow.
Nice.
I think that the next, by the end of the year, we'll have another lawyer on board to help push cases, more cases, post-pandemic, for whatever reason, seem to be going to trial or getting right up there at trial before they're resolved, and you just gotta have the horsepower to do it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to take on more of the catastrophic end of cases, and if you don't have the horsepower to litigate those vigorously, the other side knows it, and they'll just wear you out.
Absolutely.
They'll wear you down and wear you out. So
absolutely. Good stuff. All right. So I have to ask, the screenwriting, do you have some ideas in mind?
I have none.
Yeah.
I have no I'm a very good writer, and I'm a very good analytical writer and brief writer. I've got no creative writing. Like I don't have it. And of course I've never developed it either, but it's something that since I was in my mid-20s, wanted to be able to develop and do. And ultimately I think I would be good, or I would be good on a team. Like I'd be a good editor. Like somebody else has the vision and the idea, and they lay out, and I'd be good at putting together the actual intricacies of the dialogue and whatnot. But I have no ideas, and I have written absolutely nothing. But it's something that I think would be super, super cool. And
I think it'd be awesome. I think you probably have a bunch of stories you could draw from and probably put out some good work.
Right.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, Bryan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You.
If people want to get in touch with you and learn more about the Baer Law Firm out of Atlanta, how can they reach you? What's your website?
Sure. It's www.thebaerfirm.com.
Okay.
And our number is really easy. It's 404 the Baer.
Nice.
And regardless of either way you spell it, I spell my name Baer, but if you were to spell it Bear, it also will route to us, 404-843-2237. I can be reached on my email, brian@thebaerfirm.com as well.
Nice. Very cool. All right. I will have all those links down in the show notes for everybody so they can reach out to you and stuff. And again, thanks very much for being on the show.
Oh, please. Thank you. This was so much fun. Yeah. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Sure. Listeners, hope you guys are taking a lot of good notes, a lot of good information here and stuff. And if you do need a personal injury lawyer, malpractice, any of those things, reach out to Bryan Baer and the Baer Law Firm out of Atlanta. And you work not just exclusively in Georgia. You have clients from all over, right?
I do. I've got a case in Ohio. Now I've got a case in Tennessee. I mean, Cantor, those clients initiated in Georgia, and it just happened that the bad events happened in other states. But
yeah, very cool. All right, so anybody, if you're looking for some legal advice, definitely reach out to the Baer.
Absolutely happy. And if I don't do it, I've one of the advantages of kind of practicing in several different firms in different areas is I typically know somebody good who does, and always just happy to help good folks get to where they need to be.
Excellent. Very cool. All right, listeners, make sure you share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues, and stick around because there's always more coming. That's it for me, Coach Harlan, saying so long for now.